Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I would like to share with you 5 very simple questions you can ask yourself as you improvise to take your improvisation to the next level. Improvisation can be very daunting for all of us, for me as well, of course, but I see it very often with students who are maybe just getting introduced to the idea of improvisation, and for a lot of them, they seem to think that it's just playing anything and whatever and see what sticks, what sounds good, but that's not actually how it is. At least to me, improvisation is like a little journey you take. You start on this little path, and then at any point you can decide to go maybe that way, right? And then you get to this diverging path and you pick the one in the middle. And then decide, oh no, maybe I should have taken the one on the right. Let me get back there and take this other one instead. And now let me go all the way down there, right? And that's the magic of improvisation. That's how you probably can sit down on a chair. I do sometimes for 2 hours at a time, just simply following each note into the next one. And you should have a recorder on in case it sounds great, because sometimes you might stumble upon some incredible things. One parallel I like to draw is to somebody sitting at a desk at a typewriter. You don't expect people to just type random words and random letters and hope that somehow a full sentence will come out, right? You'd actually expect somebody writing from stream of consciousness to maybe write a full sentence and then decide that after that this should happen, and then this guy should be out here doing this, but then maybe he'll meet this girl who will be doing some other strange thing, and at the end of the session you'll have this huge ensemble of things that then you can take apart and decide what works, what doesn't, and then bring it back into a cohesive thing. And that's what we're trying to do here with music. The great thing is you don't have to be advanced, you don't have to have great experience at improvising. We're going to use a very simple scale for you today that I think you all know, and hopefully you'll find it interesting. Let's get started. First of all, as we said, let's pick a scale to work with, and let's keep it simple with the minor pentatonic scale, and we'll stick to the key of C. I'm sure you've all played this 1,000 times before, but if you need to follow along with this tab, it goes like this. Very simple, of course, but this is what we're going to use to tackle the 5 questions. And the first question is what? What am I going to play? That's the biggest one, probably. And here's an example for you how you can overcome this problem and this obstacle. Let's just play the scale one more time. And this time, instead of simply moving your fingers, which is kind of what we're trying to get away from, actually listen to the notes you're playing. Listen how high we're going. If you were trying to sing along to this scale, you'll notice that around here, it gets really high to sing along to. So you have this beautiful, wonderful range with a simple scale position. And you can play this a few times, get this, the sound of the scale really into your ear. Once we've done that, let's start with the simplest note, the lowest note. Let's just play the 8th fret of the 6th string, that's a C, the root, or tonic of the scale. And from here, I just want you to imagine the next note. And I know some of you have great relative ear, some maybe a bit less, so you might not be able to simply hear a note and play the note you want, but we can just go broader than that. There's no problem. You can go, I want something really high, I want something really in contrast to this low C. Or some of you might say, you know what, I want something really smooth and consonant. Maybe I want something really close to this note. I want something more progressive. So let's say, for example, I'm doing something far away. Maybe I don't know what all these notes sound like, but I can probably guess that the 11th fret on the 2nd string is going to sound pretty far away from the low C. So I can go like this. And this will have a certain impact on me. Whereas if I play something closer, it sounds different. It gives me a different, maybe, idea for how I want to play these notes. Maybe that's what comes out. And so the what, the note far away, might readily suggest the other what are the notes I want, and you might have noticed also a rhythm, but we'll get to that later. If I play something that's closer, then I might want to stick to this note for a little while. Maybe that's what I'm hearing. Maybe I want to repeat it, right? Maybe I want to vibrate a little, and again, that's kind of had to do with the how, and we'll talk about that later too. But going back to what notes to play, this is the first exercise. You just pick a note, doesn't have to be the lowest one, of course, and say, now I want to go close, and come back. Sorry. And then I want to go really low. I hear that I can repeat the phrase in a bit of a different way, and that's my sentence. And that's a beautiful way of starting, no pressure at all. You can start from the highest note and go, you know what, I want something that's maybe middle of the way. And I just play with these notes, which might sound weird to a lot of you, but for whatever context, they might work great. So that's all you have to do. Just sit there, play a note, and go, what do I want to hear? And try to play the next. And for now, we're stuck to the sound of the minor pentatonic scale. That's why I asked you to play a few times before we start, so you have only those notes within the range of your imagination. Do this for a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back with the next one. As mentioned before, when is the next question? And the answer might seem extremely simple, but we're going to try to make it a bit more interesting. The first answer to the when question is really, when am I going to play it? So if I have this note, and maybe this one, there's many ways to play. I could do this, or I can just do, right? One is more maybe funky and even progressive, and the other one is certainly more bluesy. And that's the first thing. We're going to talk about the when also with the duration of the note, because that's very important for the contour of your phrase. So if I were to play this note and then go down to this one, which is the same note an octave higher, if I decide to make the second note last longer, now the phrase that comes after will kind of have to relate more to this longer note than to this. You can feel it, right? You hear that? We kind of shifted our weight to the higher note. Whereas if I stayed here longer, we're keeping the weight on the low note. That's just one of the main things with the duration of a note. It gives you an anchor. And you can, of course, play with those expectations and subvert them, but that's not what we're here for today. All I'm saying is be mindful of how long your notes last. It's very important. The other point, as we mentioned before, is when I play the notes. Because if I have a rhythm that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, it sounds a bit weird because on the ones, on the strong beats, I'm playing notes that are not the root. And that creates interest somehow and in some ways, and it might be ways you're interested in, and it might be ways that you're not. Focus on the when, focus on the what, spend another few minutes on these two, and I'll be here waiting for you. The next question I would like you to think about is the how, and this is the last of the, so to speak, simple ones, because they're easy to answer. And the how has to do with the guitar, at least, which is an incredibly expressive instrument, with many things, but mainly how loud I'm playing, how hard I'm hitting with the pick, am I vibrating the note, am I bending the note, am I sliding the note, if I have a whammy bar, am I playing with the bar? There's all kinds of stuff you can do, but certainly you can hear that playing like this is different than playing like this. It's kind of the same phrase, but it shifts and it moves and certainly connects more depending on what you're doing, because I'm using all these tools. I can tell you that one of the biggest problems I have with students is that they tend to vibrate every single note, even too far out so that it just sounds out of tune. It's just a tick. It's a nervous tick or twitch. And with the how, when you think about it, then you'll decide that, you know what, this is not really agreeing with the what and the when. It's just not working. So let me try and be more deliberate. That vibrato is a bit too fast. Let me try it again. Much better. But I want the last one to be really wide and obvious. You see what I mean? So that's all part of a conscious effort to make every note as you want it in that moment, because remember, we're just improvising. So whatever you hear, really hard notes, with a slight vibrato and a slide, go ahead and do it because that's what you were hearing. Don't judge, because we're answering all these questions and it seems that there's a right way of doing it. There is no right way, but there is a process by which you really focus on each note and try to make it sound as you want. It doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't even have to be good, you know, it doesn't matter, because nobody's going to listen to you. That's actually another rule. Just do it by yourself. Not like me, who I'm doing it in front of all of you. Just do it in your room, no pressure at all. Play for an hour, sounds like crap. Forget it. Now, the fourth question is a bit harder to explain, and that's the why. Why am I playing a note? For what effect? You know, to what emotional or, you know, visceral effect am I doing it? And that's one of the very important things of somebody who improvises with authority, with skill, is because every note seems to have a purpose, and that's kind of the why. And so if I'm playing a phrase, now, it doesn't take a master to see that this really has no reason to exist. I hate to be harsh on myself, but you can tell that I'm not really thinking of any of these questions as I'm doing it. I'm just moving your fingers, as a lot of us do when we pick up the guitar. And that's exactly what I'm trying to break you out of. And so the why is simply, as you improvise and you lock into a path or a direction, ask yourself, what's the next note gonna do for me? You know, is that following in the same path I want to follow? Does this work? Are all these notes part of it? And you notice that one of the notes didn't sound too good, and that would be more of the how, right? Or if one note doesn't convince me, that would be the what. And so the why keeps everything in check. And it's a very important question to keep in mind. Without stress, though. Again, don't try to think that there's a right answer to this. It's just a process. But keep yourself in check with why are you doing what you're doing. It will be a great antidote to just, you know, as we said earlier, doing this all day. And the final question, and the stranger one, maybe the most esoteric to answer, is who? And you might be thinking, what do you mean who? You know, I'm playing. But by who, and by keeping in mind who's actually playing these notes, is a great antidote to just being a victim or just a conduit for all the musical luggage that we carry. Our favorite records, our favorite guitar players. If you have a melodic style, your favorite singers, which certainly will influence you, your favorite sax players or trumpet players, your sitar players. I don't care where you come from, you'll still have all this luggage. And with the luggage, which is inspirational, there's also comes a little problem, which is that you think you should be playing certain things because you know they work, or because you know they're expected of the style you play, or because they are just what should be played. If you just think of what you want to hear and what you want to play, you know, just make sure you shed all that extra weight and just think of what do I want to hear right now. It really makes it all about you when you improvise. It's your journey, it's your path you're trying to follow, and it's a great thing to keep in mind. As I said earlier, if you're just sitting by yourself, nobody's listening, there's no stress, there's no expectation. So feel free to just accept that, because it's part of the process that will get you eventually to something you're happy with. So don't forget, it's you who's playing, it's your taste, it's your passion, it's your idea of what sounds good, or just what sounds interesting, because maybe today you want to focus on playing weird shit. Well, go ahead and do that, because it's all within you when it comes to improvisation. And that is it. These are my 5 questions you should try to ask yourself as you improvise. I really love to hear your comments below. Please feel free to put them down there, and I can answer all your questions if you have any, or just simply follow your conversation. If you haven't liked and subscribed the video, please do that as well, because it really helps with the YouTube's strange algorithm. As a matter of fact, I'm going to suggest a couple of videos here that are not getting too much attention, but I don't think it's because of their content. So if you like to learn something new, this might help you out. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you on the next one.